This program is proudly sponsored by the Pacific International Hospital.
Thank you. Yeah. Okay. So we'll have you come put your chin in there. And your forehead against the bar. So you don't have to lean. You all right? And you can put your hands up here to support.
That's going to help.
What's hurting? Oh, your shoulder. Oh, sorry. Again, fairly cloudy view of the back of the eye, which tells me that your cataract is visually significant. So Father Ben is a gentleman who came through our emergency room. He fell down and had multiple trauma. While he was in the hospital, we do a complete history taking. It was learned that his vision had been deteriorating over the past 1 year. And I'm just wondering if this was the reason for your fall. And today, when we measured his vision, we noticed that his best corrected vision was only 624, which means that Father Ben had to walk up to 6 meters to see that same sign, what a normal vision can see from way back 24 meters.
I started to pick up that things were a little bit blurry. The place I first started to notice it most was in airports. When I'd look up to read a departure board, I couldn't pick it up. I had already stopped driving at night. That was about 6 months ago. I just refused to drive at night anymore. It was just not safe. I couldn't pick up things. Then it got to the point I wouldn't even drive during the day. So I stopped driving some months ago altogether. And that was challenging.
Father Ben Fleming, he had 3 major skeletal injuries. First, he had spine fractures. Secondly, he had multiple rib fractures. And thirdly, he had a clavicle fracture. So the initial X-ray was not very sufficient, so we had to get a CT scan for him. He was lucky not to have fractured his skull. He had a laceration in his forehead. If in case he has an injury inside the bone, if there is any bleed in the cranial cavity, contusion in the brain, that would have been very dangerous.
I don't remember the detail. I don't remember. I'm only going on what people tell me. So the actual detail of what happened is not part of my memory. My memory is leaving the restaurant and walking back to the units, to the cabins. After that, someone say, where were you walking? How did that happen? How close were you? I've no idea.
People actually say that it is a psychological trauma, but it is not just that. The father was out for more than almost 36 hours, and that is not a simple thing. Now the brain at such time, it shuts down. It's like removing a fuse just to prevent a short circuit. Because the brain is very powerful and it understands, it will supply the most important organs which will keep the body alive. So that could be the possible reaction why the brain had shut down and he could not remember anything.
I was informed about Father Ben on the same night when he arrived. Because he fell down, there was significant trauma to his lung. And for that reason, they had sought my advice, what would be the treatment plan for the pulmonary contusion that he has.
The main function of the rib cage is to protect all the vital organs in the chest. It can damage the same structures which it is supposed to be protected.
At least a week later, when he was all fine, actually at one moment we were also thinking that we can stabilize him and we can send him home. While these discussions were being made, something happened.
It was an afternoon. I was with someone and she brought some food. He said, "Do you want something to eat?" And I said, "Yes." I was sitting like this and I used both hands just to slide up a bit so I was in a better sitting position. As I did so, literally the head started spinning. I was going like this. Rapid, short, rapid breathing, this dizziness. I said, "Sister, I can't breathe."
It didn't happen right away because that is the first thing what a doctor will see if he has a hemopneumothorax, because that can be really a big trouble for the patient. If the pleural cavity, the space around the lung, if it might get filled up with blood, it might get filled up with air, or the fracture fragments can poke in, the lung can have contusions. In no time, within few minutes and few hours, patient can lose his life.
When I came to the ICU and I was going through all what had happened, it did not click. I asked my subordinates, the nursing staffs, to get an ultrasound where you can see all the hollow cavities in real time, whether there is fluid inside and to some extent what type of fluid is inside there. So on the same moment, we did something called a diagnostic tap. We insert a small needle to find it out what the fluid is all about. So when we tapped, we got the sample, it was frank blood.
I did black out, but I clearly remember opening my eyes and then all of a sudden there was action. Kind of, there were things everywhere and people everywhere. They got me on I think it's called the heart-lung respirator, tubed me, oxygen. Someone said to me, the lung had collapsed.
We called on the surgeons to come in to assess and insert a tube inside so that it can be drained out so that the lungs can expand well. The normal blood volume was maintained. Everything was balanced very well. The complication did not happen. If the diagnosis was not made right at that moment, maybe he would have bled, and if you lose significant blood, you can go into a shock.
The management of Father Ben was an entire team. It was Dr. Thorova, Dr. Paul Alexander, they are the surgeons, Dr. Amir is the intensive care specialist, myself who's taking care of the skeletal injuries. It was so fascinating, the injuries and how it happens and how it is fixed. Almost incapable person lying on a bed is made to stand and walk in no time. It's like almost giving a new life.
Again, fairly cloudy view of the back of the eye, which tells me that your cataract is visually significant and you require cataract surgery. But your macula looks good. So we have a diagnosis for you. You have a cataract, which is a cloudy lens in your eye, and that requires surgery. But nowadays, we use a machine, which is an ultrasonic device. It's called phacoemulsification, or phaco. So it's a keyhole cataract surgery where we only make a very small incision and are able to get into the eye. We open up the lens capsule, and with this ultrasonic probe, we basically break the lens material and suck it out, vacuum it out, and the cataract is gone. And now this has been replaced by an intraocular lens which will stay with you forever.
We're not the masters of our own destiny. That at some point, things will happen. And we don't have to look too far around us to see the extraordinary suffering that people experience. I've been in the extraordinary position where I was surrounded by people and facilities that could help. Not everyone has that. I've found the level of care, the level of professionalism to be excellent. It's a good facility. Dread to think in some ways what I would have done without it.
Coming up after the break.
And so somebody was just getting close to me with a rifle along the side of the car, and then just pointed me on my chest. He put the barrel in, and then he wanted to kill me on the spot.